kind of inch your way through less games, final week, you kind of start to get more serious, but the overall aspect of it gets more serious.
Yeah, I think we're just building towards our lineup for the season. We're getting more guys in games now in the later half of this preseason, and I think it'll give us a better look for what we're going to address on opening night.
I know you had a tiny, I think it was a hamstring or lower body. We'll leave it at lower body. Once you kind of got through that, you feeling as good as you want to be at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty close to ready to go at the start of camp. I think they were just being a little cautious because we had a lot of time to let it heal fully. But yeah, it's not bugging me anymore, so it's been good.
How would you assess the defense kind of as a group? As you kind of have an idea of who's going to be there? There might be a change or two, but overall, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think for the most part it's pretty set so far, but there is that spot, and a lot of guys have stepped up and been playing really well and playing to get themselves in that spot. So I think it'll be a tough decision. I think they're going to fight over it, and most of the year, even in the beginning, I think a lot of them are going to play and get that chance. So yeah, they've all looked really good so far, though.
Do you remember being that guy?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, but it's fun. You get to compete for a job and hopefully stay up in the NHL.
How many games for you is good for preseason? How many games do you feel comfortable playing?
I think three or four is usually a good number. I mean, the last couple of years it's been shorter preseasons, but I remember that being a pretty good number, and they're spread out over a long span. You want to get them in so you're ready to go opening night.
Yeah, I quickly wanted to ask you about your mindset and your approach to training camp compared to last year. Obviously, it was your first year in Edmonton last season. How's that changed at all?
Yeah, you definitely feel a little more comfortable knowing the guys. Last year, I only knew a couple guys, really, so it's nicer when you get to know the guys for a full year and then come back and see them all. And yeah, you just feel a little more comfortable, but at the same time, you got to stay on your toes because there's a lot of really good kids and prospects coming up now.
Yeah, speaking of that competition, how healthy is that to have not only on the D Corps but the group as a whole?
It's good. I think it pushes everyone through camp and through the exhibition games, and keeps everybody on their toes and ready to go for the start of the season.
It was a full house, only NBA game in town this year, so thought I'd participate in the festivities.
Are you surprised at how much of a association city Edmonton can kind of be?
No, I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I think it's a big sports town, and obviously, when you don't have a sport and then it comes to your town, it's exciting. And I think both teams put on a really good show for the fans.
The ice is in today, last week of training camp before the season starts kicking off. Just how has everything progressed for you? How are you feeling on the ice?
Feeling good. I think we've managed the schedule, in the time before the regular season well thus far, and I think we'll continue to do that the rest of camp. And but everybody, we're ready to go come October 12th.
How many games are good for you to feel comfortable going into the regular season?
0, but no, I think 2 or 3 is a good number.
You guys are getting a chance to do a team building. Team had a great year last year, but are you still a big fan of those kinds of events for teams to just do something off the ice and do it together?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's as many guys that we have returning from last year, we still have some new faces. I think it'll be a great opportunity to continue to help integrate guys into the room and become more comfortable with each other. And those things are always a lot of fun. So I'm expecting a fun day.
Matt, I want to quickly ask you about Dylan Holloway and your impression so far through his performance in camp.
Yeah, he's been, I've seen him a little bit. I think this is the first night I'm playing with him tonight. So, but what I've seen and what I've heard, he's looked really, really good. So excited to see what he can bring as training camp progresses and most likely into the regular season. And he's got a really good shot, quick hands. I think just finding the other elements of his game will continue to build throughout the start of the season, and we'll see what he does.
Do you try to kind of provide advice and leadership and mentorship to a young guy who's trying to crack an NHL roster?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that has a lot of confidence, and I think that's a good thing. When you have to have that confidence as a young player in order to be effective in this league, because if you don't, you're not going to be effective. So, I think just continue to have that confidence and belief in himself, which I don't think he needs a lot of help with. So that's a good thing, and I'm expecting really good things from this year.
Is Tyson still the only one that calls him Hollywood, or is that kind of caught on?
No. He's got a long way to go to earn that nickname with me.
Huh? You remember being him coming into the league, being young, excited, talented type thing?
I mean, I came in as an 18-year-old, so it's you're still a kid. But yeah, I think the big thing that I just touched on is confidence. Having that self-belief, because at the end of the day, you're stealing somebody's job, and it's most likely an older guy's, and nobody's going to be too happy if somebody's taking your job, right? So, having that confidence, having that fortitude to continue to push and earn a roster spot.
Thanks, man. Mike, do you mind following down?
We'll see, but you might get a chance with Draisaitl and Hyman. I mean,
yeah.
How do you hope to connect with those two guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable opportunity. Both are unbelievable players, but I'm just really excited, and I'm just really excited to play, and it should be a good game.
Did you set any goals for yourself in camp? I don't know, offensively, or just how long you wanted to stick around, or the impression you wanted to make?
Yeah, I mean, my only goal for camp is just to make the team. So to do that, I got to play well. So I didn't really set any goals for offensively, but it was just as far as playing well and playing the right way, playing good defensively, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Dylan, as camp has progressed, through rookie camp, things were going good. First week of preseason, things looked good. Looked like you had confidence to make a nice play the other night in Winnipeg. How are you tracking? How do you feel your game's progressing as competition gets tougher and tougher?
Yeah, I feel good. I think getting a little more confident out there too. First few games of the year are always kind of a little rusty a little bit, but kind of getting my touches down, the rhythm down a little bit. So I'm pretty happy with my games. I'm feeling pretty confident.
I've done some basketball play-by-play over the course of my career, so I've seen some pretty high-caliber play. But when I saw the NBA for the first time, I was astounded by the athleticism of guys, 6 and 11, 7 feet. What about you? What do you say about the athletes that are on the floor?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like you said, to be the size that they are and the way they move, and they play a full 82 season too, so it's hard on their bodies, and the way they're able to recover and manage and just be so explosive is pretty impressive.
What's it like kind of being around both hockey and basketball your whole life?
It's been fun. You see athletes from two different perspectives. Obviously, at the basketball, you get a little more, the running, jumping. We're a little more specialized when it comes to hockey, but it's been a lot of fun to have exposure to both.
Is there any mingling with those guys yesterday, or is it strictly as a fan for you?
No, I got to meet Nick Nurse in the summer, so saw him when they came in and talked a little bit. So yeah, it's cool when you get to interact with people in different sports because they have different perspectives on things, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Thanks. Good luck tonight.
No problem.
Good. Can you talk maybe a little bit about that battle for the third pair left spot beside Tyson Barrie? There seems to be Broberg, Neiman Line, and Samorkov, guys that you've all coached before, and what you see from them, and how much does 3 or 4 preseason games go into the decision compared to the bigger picture of what you've seen from in the past?
Yeah, I think it's a good battle for that position. We're going to continue to evaluate on a day-by-day basis.
What have you seen from Samorkov so far that you've liked this year in camp?
Yeah, I have a good understanding of Dimitri going back to his first year as a professional, and he's someone that has showed well here for the first few days.
Jay, Dylan Holloway playing alongside Draisaitl and Hyman, it appears, anyway. What kind of went into that decision?
Well, I think when you go through training camp, what happens is you want to make sure enough people get enough games, and you kind of game plan out what certain people might need. And so we had a few players play a lot of games last week, so we're not just going to overplay anybody through the preseason. And with that being said, we want another look at Holloway today and see what he's got. And tonight he's going to line up with Leon and Hyman. You were right.
Can you share your plans with the goalies? Will they be splitting Campbell and Skinner, or is Campbell playing the full distance?
Campbell will play the full game tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Benson scored, was involved physically as he often tries to be. What have you seen in his sort of evolution of adopting, I don't know if pest is the right word, but he's eager to get out there and disrupt if he can?
Yeah, for me, what I've noticed about Tyler Benson's camp is that he wants to get noticed here. He really wants to get noticed. He's doing whatever it takes in order to get noticed. I saw him last game in Winnipeg, kind of when the team was finding its feet in that road game. He scored a great goal. He finished a check. He was involved in a scrum. I knew that Tyler Benson was in the building. And, that wasn't just a one-off thing. He's had a good camp thus far. Now he has to continue to build on it because the competition for lineup spots is fierce right now.
So that leads into my next question, because we've seen him in the NHL, but kind of up and down. I mean, how far away is he, or is there enough of that dimension where he can push guys aside right now?
Well, why not? I mean, he's here to compete and stake a claim. He's had a good camp. He has gotten his feet wet in the NHL last year, and he's got prior history with the coaching staff that have seen what he can do at the American League level. He should feel good about his camp to date, but we're in an everyday business. You got to bring it every day, and he's going to get a chance tonight to leave an impression.
Hey, Jay. With the Raptors here last night, Nick Nurse was here. I was just wondering if there was any interaction with him and just, maybe sharing notes and things like that. Do you kind of get a chance to talk to other coaches about, like coaches that play different leagues, not necessarily yours?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. I can draw inspiration from, sometimes I'll watch those Hard Knocks shows and pull stuff from the way NFL coaches operate, or have some friendships with coaches in different sports. But yes, Nick Nurse, who I've been a big fan of, listened to a lot of his interviews, big fan of his personal journey to get to where he got to. He wanted to see the Oilers dressing room yesterday, and they brought him by the coach's office, and we could have sat there for hours and talked, but I knew he had to get going, and it was a real treat for our entire staff because he's obviously a top coach, but he seemed like a really, really solid person. So we took a lot out of that.
Yeah, how much can you learn from someone just bouncing ideas off them, motivate players and do that? Obviously, the NHL players are a little different than the NBA players, but how much do you get out of that? Just just
yeah. Well, I try and go in those situations by asking a lot more questions and keeping my ears open rather than speaking. And in that situation, I talked a lot about his championship season, how he handled Kawhi Leonard, what he thought of Kawhi Leonard, the challenges for his team this year, all that type of stuff. So I learned a lot, and I'm thankful that he was so gracious with his time.
Warren Fogle, he thinks he can be a more impactful player here this year. How much more, and we watched him last year, how much more of a player can we see this year, do you think?
Yeah, I think he can be. I think he can impact the team. I think it's fair to look at his numbers. His numbers were around his career highs. So you can impact, I like the word you use, impact. He can impact a game in different ways than just on the scoreboard. It's getting a stop on a forecheck. It is finishing a check. It is being in a shooting lane. It is being excellent along the walls. And this year we've kind of tasked him with a little bit of penalty kill responsibility, and this is the time to do that. I think Warren started out camp very well. I really liked his last game. He understands the battle that he's in. He does understand that. And we've said this right from day one that, this camp was set up to be competitive, that there were jobs here, and there were privileged ice time jobs available. And he's done a good job of trying to stake a claim.
Jay, I find it interesting you in talking to Nick Nurse about Kawhi Leonard, and it was famous that year with load management. So what did you learn about that? Are we going to see Connor McDavid?
Yeah, you know what? I learned a lot about it right from him, and he talked a lot about how professional and detail-oriented Kawhi Leonard was, how he went about his day, and some of the things he needed. I learned a lot in that conversation, and I've always had a healthy respect for Kawhi Leonard as a player, going back to his days in college and then going back to his time in San Antonio, which I'm a big fan of that organization and the way they go about their business. So it was insightful for me, to say the least, to sit and talk with Nick about, how he handled him when he was there for that 1 year in Toronto.
So are there any parallels between having Connor and Leon here? And
well, I think the way he described Kawhi is very similar to how I would see Connor or Leon or Darnell or Zach Hyman, these type of top professionals, and the way they take care of themselves and what their needs are in order to perform at their very best. So it was very interesting.
I was kind of joking about Connor playing 65 games, but do you ever see load management? That's the term that they used, kind of working its way into hockey?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the term. I would say, there are theories regarding load management in hockey as pertains to pregame skates, as pertains to practices. I don't see it in, resting people for games and stuff like that. But, I think picking and choosing your spots. Last year was a good example when Dave and I came up from Bakersfield of, you had to pick your spots just based on the demands of the schedule.
Jay, you mentioned Tyler Benson's done a lot to get noticed. Jake Virtanen's on a PTO. Has he done enough to get noticed? Would you like to see more from him?
Yeah, I think Jake's had a good camp. He's in one of those roster battles, and it's incumbent upon him to have a good game. He's in the game tonight. Good, thanks, guys.